Well, as you can see, it's that time of year again. Most of the leaves have fallen off all the trees. That's what it looks like here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia this time of year. It's late fall, and as you can see, Fanny's rock garden is covered in leaves. I say it's time to clean Fanny up and get her ready for some Christmas decorating. I'm Deborah Power-DeMille, and welcome to Vintage Camper Christmas. Welcome to Fanny, my 1972 South Park camper trailer made in Calgary, Alberta. I worked a long time to get Fanny ready, and this is going to be my first Christmas to celebrate in her in my backyard. My first craft is going to be a wreath for Fanny's front door. Okay, here I am, one of my favorite places in Fanny, the dinette table. And I've put on an old Olaf cutting board. I've just turned it over to have the smoother side, which I've crafted on before, just to protect this fancy tabletop in Fanny that we all work so hard on. So to make this wreath, I'm going to start off with this foam wreath that I got at Dollar Store. Really strong, really basic. I have my selection of vintage lights, light bulbs. And this one's just so cute. I have to figure out a way to incorporate this one, although I love this old string of lights. I really think that this could be front and center on Fanny's door decoration wreath. So I find out from a friend that this is Sparkle the Christmas Light. He's a super famous Christmas light that you used to be able to buy in the early 90s. Came with his own song, his own little cassette tape, and his own booklet. So I think what I'm going to do is get my glue gun, which I've had warmed up. I'm going to start a spot on the wreath itself, and then I'm going to start with one end. See if I can do this without, lacerating my fingers. And then I really think it's just a matter of wrapping all the way around. It's getting harder and harder to find this old garland these days. I suspect this is a newer garland, but the real stuff that we used to trim our trees with back in the 70s, harder and harder to find. I mean, you really have to go to a specialty store online or, haunt your local secondhand stores, which is what I've been doing to find all this vintage stuff. Craigslist, secondhand stores. I also have found that the marketplace on Facebook has some pretty good stuff. And all, locally sourced. It knows your IP address. I think I'm going to have just enough to wrap this wreath with. And I might have to be a little more spare than I thought. It's looking kind of cute, right? Like those little dingle balls are kind of cute. They're really growing on me. I'm trying to even it out as best I can without being too precious about it. I mean, this is a 1972 camper trailer. Fanny wouldn't want me to be precious about it all. Okay, I think I'm just going to space out these rolls a little bit more. I think that looks pretty good. Now if I can find the end, I just brought around this side. There it is. And we're going to do one more bit of hot glue just to hold down the tail end of this old garland. And hold it in place for a second until it dries. Now, I do have my extra glue sticks. I'm going to plug that in. I have only a few, electrical outlets here in Fanny, thanks to Uncle Tim. And one of them happens to be right behind me, so this is what makes this kind of the perfect crafting spot. Okay, how's that? I think that looks pretty cute. Now, if there are any white spots, I'm sure those are going to be covered up by any of my decorations. I think the first thing to do is to just start putting on these beautiful colored light bulbs. And you'll notice that these vintage ones are solid colors. Nowadays they're clear, more like this one here. that has, you know, you can really just see right through them. And the other nice thing about these old ones, I mean, these aren't going to be lit up, but these shine a lot brighter than the new LEDs. But they're not as environmentally friendly, so let's use them to decorate our wreath for Fanny. Okay, yellow is one of my central colors in Fanny, so I'm going to start with the yellow, the big yellow ones, and then I've got a bunch of smaller ones that I'm going to, you know, sort of put in between those. I only have so many, so let's see if we can place these in a way that they're going to be sort of equidistant apart. That looks good. Green. No, you know what? Let's go with red next, because red is another one of my favorite Fanny colors. And see if we can get these to do the same thing close to the yellows. I really love that mixture of colors that I've used on Fanny. The yellow, red accents inside. The wheel hubs are also painted red on the outside of Fanny. So red, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow. That's looking pretty good. I've also used a beautiful yellow on the outside along with the antique teal, which is such a beautiful color, and white, of course. And it looks fresh and clean. And we'll see more of Fanny when we go outside and decorate her with lights. And I have to tell you, Fanny has turned out to be the perfect place to craft, because we can come out here, can warm it up with the heater, lots of light, and it's cozy. You can turn on the Christmas music, have a little jukebox CD player in the back there, and, you know, a little bit of rum, a little bit of eggnog, everybody's happy, everybody's crafting away. Fanny's vintage, old again, new again, Christmas wreath made out of vintage light bulbs from Christmas lights. Brownie's slipping a bit. I like it. I think it turned out really well. Now, I'm going to let it dry a whole lot more here. And now, we're going to move on to the next project. Okay, well, tonight, we have these guys in here helping us. Hi, Django. Hi, Jiminy. How you doing? They just love coming into Fanny and helping Mama craft. Okay, here we are. My favorite place to be, the dinette table in Fanny. Now, I have been looking for a vintage silver Christmas tree for about 2 weeks now. They are impossible to find. I have been looking online, been looking in tons of secondhand stores. I did find one at a really high-end vintage store in Vancouver, but they are asking $250 for this silver Christmas tree. I mean, it's true, it's vintage. But short of that, I decided I want to make my own Christmas tree. So what I did was I found this great piece of doweling in my husband's workshop next door, and a flat piece of board that I screwed into the bottom of the doweling. I found an ancient can of silver spray paint that had just enough left to spray this. And not perfectly because it was so old, but you know, it looks more vintage that way. And I think Fanny would appreciate it. I've cut it to a length of 3 feet. And I did some math and some figuring out, which took a few minutes, to figure out how many branches I'm actually going to need on this tree to make it look like a Christmas tree, like a fake Christmas tree. So I figured, I worked it out that I would do it, there would be 10 levels, 3 inches apart, 4 branches at each level, and each branch would be 2 inches shorter than the other going up the tree. So that makes 38 branches. But, well, I actually did less than that. No, I think I did 38. So I started at the first level and went all the way up to actually only 9, because I'm going to start it a little bit further up the tree because you need a place to put presents. So here's what I found. I found this amazing, super thick, super fancy garland, silver garland. This is not a vintage garland. This is a newer garland because it looks like it has a super smaller one in the middle and then the longer, beautiful garland on the outside. However, I could not find enough to make an entire tree out of. The other thing I found was this amazing 1970s garland that I got in the original box, which I love. It's really thick, it's really full. I mean, you just can't find this stuff anymore. It's still flattened from the box. The box is pink and purple and green. So I figured what I would do is I would do each level a different type of garland. So the first level will be thick, thin, thick, thin, thick, thin, and then it's going to be a little cute little tiny topper. So let's get started. I figure the best way to start is to use some decent gauge wire. Certainly not as thick as a clothes hanger, but something that you can bend easily because you want to have it twisted so it will hold onto the garland. So you need 2 lengths of wire for each branch. So with 38 branches, I better get cracking. The first branch level is going to be 16 inches long. So I've turned my Olaf cutting sheet over so that I can get my inches, which is a really great thing. And then you start at the 1 inch and you go up to the 16 inch. And here I've got my handy little cutters. And these are tiny, but they are powerful. Kind of like me and Fanny. So there's one. I'm going to roll out some more. I'm just so happy my husband has his fantastic workshop next door because he has everything you could possibly imagine. And now let's cut this one also to 16 inches with our handy dandy inch measurer right on the cutting sheet. Okay, so we have our first 2 lengths of 16 inches. The first thing I'm going to do is take 2 ends and I'm going to bend them over. Not all the way, just into a little hook. And then I'm going to hold it really tight with my pliers. She says, hopefully. And then I'm going to start twisting the wires. See how I'm doing this? Not really tight, sort of long and lean. That way we have a good strong base to wind our garlands around to make the branches. And then at the end you'll see how I affix the garland, and this is going to be the end that goes into the wood dowel for the tree, like a store-bought tree. And it's really crooked, but we're going to make that more beautiful. So let's start off with the very first bottom base and all this beautiful garland. And what we're going to do is with the end of the garland where I've made that hook, I'm going to tuck the end of the garland in there. And then it's very hard to see the wire for the garland, but I can feel it through the garland, and using my crimpers, my little pliers, I am ever so slowly going to crimp both of those edges down so they hold on to that edge of the garland. Brilliant. Now I'm going to just slowly twist this garland around the wire, and not too close because then you're just going to use up so much of the garland. I want it to be long and lean like the twist itself. And then, these little guys are amazing. I'm going to cut it off right here until we meet next time. Now, at the end, where these 2 ends are still apart, I am going to work my garland through those ends, and then I'm going to continue twisting. I can just do it with my fingers. I don't have to use my pliers again. That is going to hold that garland in place, because what's going to happen next, as you know, is that that is going to go into a hole that I drill into the dowel to make the first branches of my vintage Christmas tree. I'm not gonna lie, it took a while to put this great little tree together. And I didn't want to bore you with all the footage, so here's some nice still photos of the end product. What a cutie, and so silver. Wow, I'm so happy with how this tree has turned out. All the little vintage touches, the different colors, the reflectors. I really, really wish that I could have this tree inside, but it's just for Fanny. And my little homemade tree worked out really well. Okay, we have a few more things to do in here. Let's get going. Okay, so here we are, doing some Christmas baking in Fanny. Now the first thing we need to do is light up the stove and the oven. Take off my little grates. I open up the top and I just turn on the propane. So I'm going to use my little handy dandy lighter, which is supposed to be working so perfectly. And I light the little tiny pilot light in the middle. It's a bit dirty in there, but we're not cooking on that. The most important thing is that that pilot light is lit. Now, put back on my little grates. The next important thing is to light the oven, because yes, we're using the oven. So here we are. I have my handy dandy lighter, and you have to go down and underneath and light that little pilot light right underneath there. There it goes. I'm going to close it for a second because it takes a few seconds for the propane to come through, and pretty soon that little oblong metal piece that shoots out the propane is going to light up nice and warm. Now I have baked in Fanny before. In fact, I'm famous for baking my little pizzas in Fanny. This oven bakes so evenly, I'm amazed. I read all kinds of blog posts that said, you know, your camper oven is going to cook unevenly. So I tried a pizza, which is on a round pizza dish, put it in there, just a metal pizza plate, homemade, right from scratch, you know, the Kraft pizza. That pizza cooked so evenly and so perfectly that I know that my oven is perfectly temperatured. Who thought they'd ever be baking gingerbread men in their camper? Well, you know what? We're going to do it today. You know what this is over here? Well, I have a few things on it, but this is a vintage recipe book holder, which I adore. And I'm going to put my fabulous old Joy of Cooking cookbook right there. Oh, it's almost big enough for it. Most of them aren't. Isn't that the sweetest thing? Now, I've already made my gingerbread. And it's interesting because I make gingerbread cake for my husband non-stop over the holidays. But actual gingerbread men, this dough needs to be made and rise at room temperature for at least 2 hours. So that's what we've done. We've let that rise a little bit. And then what we're going to do is roll it out, and we're going to be making little cute gingerbread men. This great wooden board. It's just a sweet wooden board, really strong. I'm not going to have the best shots of it for you, but you only need to put flour down and roll it out with a great old wooden rolling pin. And these are going to be the best gingerbread men. So, I'm going to turn the camera down. You don't need to see me the whole time. Put a little bit of flour on the wooden board. I have my handy dandy little TV tray here. And then you want to roll your old rolling pin or whatever. You know what? You can use a wine bottle. You don't have to be precious, especially if you're camping. Then we're going to take this lovely old bit of gingerbread that has been rising for about 4 hours. You know what? I'm going to move my little tray because it's making a little bit of banging sound. And I'm right by my sink, right by my stove. And I turn it over and I make sure that both sides and even the edges are covered in a little bit of flour just to make the rolling easier. And the key to rolling out anything, whether you're rolling out pastry or gingerbread dough, is to start from the center and go out. I always have there's always a little bit of flour on the side. Make sure you dab your edges of your cookie cutter. Don't know how long I've had this guy, but a long time. And we're just going to start pressing as close to the edge as we can. We want as many as we can get. All the way through. Oh, this one came right off with the cutter. This is always handy, because then you can put it right on the cookie sheet. Another dab. Another cut. I think we can fit another one on there. So let's make sure this is placed properly. We're going to do a nice choppy chop. And get that little one out. Oh my goodness, that is adorable. Look at that. Okay, so now we have these cookies ready to go. Let's see what Fanny's oven looks like inside when it's completely warmed up. It's a bit of a wonky angle, but as you can see, I have the cookies ready to go. And we're going to see underneath here how all that light lights up underneath to make that oven super even baking. Okay. Here we go. Just trying to find a place to put the camera. Now, let's put the cookies in the oven. And we're going to put it on the top shelf. Every phone has some kind of a clock app. When you go to the clock, you can set a timer. And my recipe says that I need to cook the cookies for 7 to 10 minutes. So let's say 9. So now we're just going to touch this spot, 9 minutes, and we press start. There we go. Now we are ready. Let's hope it turns out really well. There we go. Time is up. Let's get it out of the oven. Thank goodness I have my trusty Fanny oven gloves. Let's see how they turned out. Come on, little gingerbread people. Oh my goodness. They are so lovely and so perfect. I hope you can see that. Now we're going to let those cool down. Going to make some royal icing. And then I'm going to decorate them. Okay. The other super yummy thing we're about to make in Fanny are my sister-in-law's excellent chocolates. And they're called Chris's Turtles. Now, I'm not going to forget my apron this time. Now, this apron is very special to me because it was sent to me by one of my mom's best friends. They are quilters all, and I made it. And I really, really need it for this. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you know, you've heard of turtles. Ooh, I like turtles. But this one is a little bit different. So what we're going to do is use like my favorite old pot, another one from my mom. And we are going to get this stovetop lit up. Oh, let's just turn it on a little bit. There we go. Now, once you have it up and warming, you have to put in a bag of mint chocolate chips. Now, here's the problem. I used to always be able to find mint chocolate chips. I can't find them anymore. So what I'm doing is that I'm using some regular chocolate chips. We're going to put these in and get them melting. And then what I have is some peppermint extract. Now, you have to be really careful with extract because it's quite powerful. It is basically an emulsion, basically a pared down version of the flavor. So you cannot put in too much. I'm going to turn the heat down a smidge. And I'm going to just put in a couple drops. Like that. And now, I'm just going to start stirring. You can see there's lots of heat there already. I want to make sure it's not too high. There we go. So those are all, and you know what? I can smell the mint already. Now we also need a bag of butterscotch chips. Super simple, she says as she tries to rip it open. Now we keep stirring that because we really want this to melt. And it's smelling enough like peppermint, but you know what? Another drop. Now I'm putting it away. No more allowed. And I have the heat at a really nice place. Now, whatever peanut butter you like, we need 3 tablespoons of it. Well, look at that. We actually have spoons in Fanny's drawer. So, this isn't a tablespoon, but I know what a tablespoon looks like. And there it goes. And you keep stirring and stirring and stirring. Oh, it's melting beautifully. In fact, it's a little bit warm. So we're going to turn it down a little bit. And you want to keep stirring everything. You can use anything you want to stir it. A wooden spoon. I'm using a spatula. Make sure none of it is sticking to the bottom. But you want it all nice and melty, melty, melty. And it really does melt quickly. Now, the pièce de résistance is we add the peanuts. You know, I've tried the peanuts from everywhere now, bulk and what have you, but really buy fresh peanuts because the bulk ones are a little bit stale. So we need 2 cups. There's 1, there's 2. I've been making this for enough years, I think I know what 2 cups look like. Oh, and it's so nice because, as you can see, it's coming to a really nice consistency. And everything mixes together so beautifully. Okay, we're going to just turn that off now because we are melted. Who knew you could do Christmas baking in your camper? But you can. Just like you do at your own home stove. Oh my gosh, that's looking beautiful. Okay, now that we have that all melted, it's time to put them into some little cups. Now what I tend to do over the year is gather little tiny cups. I like them to be a little bit different. You know, you don't want everyone to be exactly the same. Or you might, but hey, this is a camper thing. So we're putting in a few of these. And look at these, aren't these cute? And our nice, warm, melted Chris's Christmas turtles. Okay, so you also, I let people know, of course, there's peanuts in these. There are people who have their peanut allergies now. So I put little signs by every dish at my Christmas party to let people know what's in them. So if they have a peanut allergy or, you know, a lactose intolerant situation, they know they can have it or they can't have it, as it might be. Now we have a fabulous little tray ready to go into the fridge. Okay, we've had a few difficulties with my older camera, so this is no longer HD, but we're going to continue on. We have melted down all of this lovely stuff, which is butter, peanut butter, and some butterscotch chips. Now you have to let it cool down to a certain point because we are now adding mini marshmallows. And you don't want them to melt. So we've let it cool down enough. The interesting thing about this dish is, this in my family was always called Auntie Donna squares. And my Auntie Donna made these squares when she was in the prairies. And then when second time I hooked up with my husband, his mom sent him these exact squares. So now I call them prairie squares. I've seen them since called confetti squares, whatever you want to call them. They're fantastic. So the lovely thing about this is you can just stir it up with whatever you have. You want to make sure that all of the marshmallows are coated with the yummy peanut butter, butterscotch, melted filling. Now I've already sprayed my pan. You know, whenever we took this to our, Christmas bake sales and stuff, these were the first things to sell. You chill for at least 24 hours. Then you can cut them and put them up, and people will come and eat them. See all the things you can do in your camper? Like, who can't do Christmas baking in your camper? Thank you, Fanny. Okay, here we are. It's just twilight now. And it's the perfect time to hang Christmas lights around Fanny, because pretty soon it's going to be dark and we want to see how great they look. Now, I've got my handy dandy ladder set up over here. I also have my lights, which I have sequenced as best I can via color. So we're going to find the plug-in end. That's the business end of these Christmas lights. And we're going to start where every good light starts, at Fanny's electrical outlet, because I'm plugged into shore power now. Pretty, right? Now I'm going to start, I'm going to go up, and I'm going to go all the way around Fanny. And guess what I have? I figured, I just need a good cloth to wipe off any moisture or residue on the top of Fanny. And I got these little command strips, which I think will work really, really well. Just to hold the lights up around as I go, and then they'll come off scot-free. Let's see how they look in a little bit. Well, I have to say, I think it turned out pretty well. Have a look. There, the lights are hooked up to Fanny. And we'll go around the back of the camper. It's pretty frosty out here right now. Oh, there's a dead soldier. Okay, I just did a round, so I have to go around again. Now, these are really vintage Christmas lights that I ended up getting from that lovely old man and older gentleman in Maple Ridge. Oh, and I have to say that the command strips in this cold, because we are at about, probably 2 degrees Celsius. We're only about 10% effective. I end up using little clips, little colored clips. Oh, but doesn't that look cute? Fanny's rock car with the lights above. You can see the cozy stuff inside, which we'll get to soon. And there's the lights along the side. Okay. I'm dying to show you some of the great little Christmas decorations I got from friends this year. This is the first year that I've had Fanny set up. And of course we've taken Fanny camping before, but it's the first time I've had a Christmas in Fanny. Check it out. This is so adorable. Not only is it a little canned ham and a Christmas tree, but it winds up. Come on, that is just adorable. My friend Carolyn got that for me. Let's shake it up a bit more. Get a little bit more snow falling. So the big consternation at the Christmas party I had at my place last weekend was, who gave the best camper gift? Well, of course, this is right up there. Then my cousin Lisa gave me this adorable little canned ham. Look at it, it almost looks like wagon wheels. But it says Merry Christmas with a little Christmas tree on top. I just adore that. And it really is made out of tin. You know, it's easier to find the camper decorations in the States than it is in Canada. So I'm really appreciative of finding these things given to me in Canada. Oh, we can't forget the first one. The very first one was brought to me by my friend Sharon. Isn't that adorbs? And it lights up. It's just hard with the lights we have on in here right now to see that there's little lights that go around. I love the little lights on the Christmas tree. I love the little snowman. Don't know if we'll get snow this Christmas. I kind of doubt it. Wreath on the door. That's a beautiful little canned ham vintage camper. I just love it. Oh, and I found one more. This is from Bass Pro Shop. Campers have s'more fun. So these decorations are going to live inside on my tree because that's where I spend most of my time. I love Fanny. Spend a lot of time in her. Don't live out here. Anyway, I had to share those with you because I was so excited to get them. Well, here we are. All the outside decorations are done. The inside decorations are done. The baking is done that we did last time we were together. And I feel so excited and I'm getting that little Christmas feeling. The baking is delicious. We know because we already ate a whole bunch of it, so we know it's pretty yummy. Now, I'm just waiting for a few of my good friends to come over and do this celebration in the backyard in Fanny. We're going to ring in the holiday season together. And I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you and yours a very special and merry holiday season. From Deborah Power-DeMille in Fanny to all of you. Cheers!